Welcome to the Trash Cats Trashcast. I'm Richard,
I'm Steven.
and today we're going to get emotional and talk about our feelings. Love, much like hate, it's ravenous and passionate, yet sometimes subtle. And we're here to tell you everything two experts could ever know about the philosophy of love.
Oh, shit.
But first, Steven, how was your week?
It's been okay. Just working a lot. Finally starting to get used to the schedule, getting in a better routine. Got a little art done, some pod stuff. Did have this weird thing we were talking about right before. My eye got infected, and it's been kind of weird. So I've been looking up urgent cares, but I think it's chilling out. I don't think I have sepsis, so all good on this end.
Yeah, that's always a good start.
What about yours?
I got me another kidney stone, and that's been wrecking my week so far. I feel like absolute hell. So if you hear me kind of jostling around in my seat or something throughout the show, like that's just me. I'm just trying to get comfortable because
just suffering, you know.
Yeah, but just living it and loving it, living, laughing, and loving it.
You look like you're 3 days out of a bender. The sweats are coming on.
Actually, you said something about going to an urgent care. That does remind me. I have to get my tetanus shot in the next year.
I have not had one of those since I was a kid, and I've been stabbed by so many rusty things. And every time it happens, I'm like,
up, Steven.
Oh, shit. You know what I mean? It's like a panic right away.
Well, still, I'm not chancing it.
How did you know you needed it again?
It's every 7 years, and I got my last one when I was 23. And I remember thinking to myself, that's really easy to remember because I won't need another one till I'm 30. And now I'll be fucking 30.
Get ready. As soon as you get that shot, you can just start pushing your hand through any rusty nail you want.
Mm-hmm. Invincible to rusty nails.
Oh, yeah.
That's how that works. So honorable mentions this week. Because we both been kind of sick and feel shitty. We didn't get any together.
Yeah, we're gonna switch it up a little bit. Just try to keep new listeners engaged. We're going to start putting the honorables at the end. And then this week, we've both just kind of been shitty. So next week, we're kicking off a little bit of a new format. It'll be cool.
You get no honorable mentions, and you're going to like it.
Fuck yeah.
So let's just dive right on into it. Love encompasses a range of strong and positive emotional and mental states, from the most sublime virtue or good habit, the deepest interpersonal affection, to the simplest pleasure. An example of this range of meanings is that the love for a mother differs from the love of a spouse, which differs from the love of food. But most commonly, love refers to the feeling of strong attraction and emotional attachment. Love is considered to be both positive and negative, with its virtue representing human kindness, compassion, and affection, as the unselfish, loyal, and benevolent concern for the good of another, and its vice representing moral flaw akin to vanity, selfishness, and egotism, and potentially leading people into a type of mania, obsessiveness, or codependency. It may also describe compassionate and affectionate actions towards other humans, oneself, or animals. In its various forms, love acts as a major facilitator of interpersonal relationships, and owing to its central psychological importance, one of the most common themes in the creative arts. Love has been postulated to be a function that keeps human beings together against menaces and to facilitate the continuation of the species.
Definitely.
Ancient Greek philosophers identified 6 forms of love. Essentially, familial love, which in Greek is storge, friendly love or platonic love, which is philia, romantic love, which is eros, self-love, philantria, guest love, xenia, and divine love, agape. Modern authors have distinguished further varieties of love: unrequited love, empty love, companionate love, consummate love, infatuated love, self-love, and courtly love. Numerous cultures have also distinguished other variants that are currently lacking in the English language. Scientific research on emotion has increased significantly over the past 2 decades. The color wheel theory of love defines 3 primary, 3 secondary, and 9 tertiary love styles, describing them in terms of the traditional color wheel. The triangular theory of love suggests that Intimacy, passion, and commitment are core components of love. Love has additional religious and spiritual meaning. The diversity of uses and meanings combined with the complexity of the feelings involved makes love unusually difficult to consistently define compared to other emotional states.
That was very pleasant to listen to you read.
Thank you.
I didn't think I would enjoy just hearing someone read about love stuff that much. That was very pleasant. I enjoyed that.
I think it's well put.
So, there was a lot there to digest. That one of the first things, this is just totally random, talking about the difference between like a mother loving a child and the love of food. Like when you see animals that like mother animals that eat their young, that is very wild. Like that breaks the rule, like the rule of love compared to so many other forms of it. It's very intriguing. But what are, like, looking at the different forms of love or different ways to express that? Like, if you had to narrow down, like, what you love the most, or the way you, like, what would be your true loves in life?
Right now, my truest love, the thing that I really am thankful for, is any time that I don't have a kidney stone.
Can't love a negative. You love yourself that much?
I sure do.
We all should, though. That's the thing, is it's always expressed as like the things we should love outside of ourselves. But in so many ways, it's a self-defense mechanism to keep us in the world, to pass on our DNA. We're meant to love ourselves also.
Yeah. And I feel like it's a weird relationship with me and me.
Definitely.
My confidence and my self-esteem has never been like high.
Yeah. I feel that.
But I feel like it's also a lot more than other people that I've met that like for sure like don't have like at least a familiarity with themselves.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm very familiar with myself and I understand myself.
You're comfortable with who you are. But it is very weird. I mean, this podcasting in general is probably the most we've exposed ourselves.
Oh, yeah.
In many ways. Like, we both have done art all our lives, but in a way there's, like, I do consider my art like an extension of myself. Like, I do care more what somebody thinks about the things I've made than they think about me directly in a lot of ways. But it's still any judgment or, like, even hatred, whatever. There's a certain amount of deflection towards what I've made against myself directly. And, you know, something like the nature of putting yourself out there and being vulnerable with a podcast or whatever, like just people who do videos of themselves. It is a tricky thing. You have to love yourself a certain amount or it's going to be a very abrasive, vulnerable experience.
Yeah. I definitely thought going into this that I was going to hate listening to it a lot more.
Same.
Than I do.
Yeah. I mean, there's times where it's like, oh, fuck. Like, it's so easy to be harsh, you know, but on yourself, but I've found it more enjoyable than I thought I would. And there's definitely I don't know, there's a reflection of how we feel about ourselves. I've always said about myself that, like, I don't feel like a ton of love towards myself, but I hold hatred for the world and not myself. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Where it's like, I'm pretty cool with who I am, but I'm not, I don't always feel that way because of, you know, the environment or life that we live kind of thing.
Yeah.
So what would you pinpoint? I think you probably are the same as me in the sense, like, when I think of true loves, I think of people. I do think of myself to a degree, but that's probably like the last like thing that comes up. But I think of
it's my family and the people that are close to me.
Yeah, and
chosen family.
Yeah.
like that. Yeah.
I think of making stuff though. Like that holds, like, honestly, if somebody asks me what I love, it's like people's the first thought, but like it's such a, like, you know, cliche go-to answer. Like everybody feels that way. The first thing that I feel passionately about is making stuff, and then it's like, I do love people more, but it's I don't know. We're meant to do things, and if we can enjoy it, that's even better. But it's about what we get out of it, or what we give from it, kind of thing. So we're both creators. But why do you feel like the passion or love, whether it's to people or to things you're doing, what level of value or importance do you put on that? How important is love in general to you?
Are you asking me that question?
Yeah.
Okay, I didn't know if that was
No, just poorly worded.
theoretical. I mean, I think it's critical. It's a huge motivation for me. I'm not gonna waste my time doing something unless it's like, if it's something that I am going to benefit from, that's one thing. If I'm not benefiting from it at all, then someone I love has to be benefiting from it. I mean, I've done charitable shit before or whatever, but most of the time I'm not put in a lot of situations like that where it's like, you know, like the biggest thing I can think of is like all winter long, I help people like get their fucking car up out of the snow.
Yeah.
You know, when you see someone that's like stuck, it's like, you've been there, you know, whatever. So you pull over and you try to help them out or whatever. And it's like, I'm putting in effort, despite not gaining anything out of it other than the sense of satisfaction for.
Can I interrupt you?
Yeah.
So to me, I would think of that, even to a stranger, like as an act of love, or like compassion. But where's the line with either actions or relationships from like casual friend to loved one, or compassion to, like, I don't know, what do you call the act of doing something out of love? Is there a better
there
word
was a
for
thing
that?
for that. It's in the thing I just read. If you were to fucking pay attention to it, Steven.
I feel like there should be a really good word for doing something purely out of love. I'm sure there's like a weird word, but I don't know. It doesn't enter our vocabulary the same way.
Companionate love. Or,
Yeah, but you'd think
platonic love, I guess, kind of.
that's more
There's
friend
more in like the
shit.
the love languages thing.
But you'd think, like, with the importance, like, mankind puts on love, that there would be some sort of verb in the English language that directly meant doing something out of love.
Yeah. So in the 5 love languages thing, which we'll talk about more later, they one of the things is acts of service, and it's like,
That's
when
broader, though, than what I'm
it's like,
trying to say. Yeah.
But it's like when you mow the lawn, or when you do the laundry or something like that, and it's like, some people see that as like, I'm doing this so they don't have to, out of an act of love. I'm doing this for them out of an act of love.
Like, that's what doing chores for a significant other is, right? But I wish there was a better word for, like, I don't know, sacrifice is like the closest thing I can think to it. You know, like, you don't make a sacrifice typically unless you love the person, but there should be a good word for that. All right. Importance of relationships.
As a general thing, or as like just to us?
Either way, just with love, where does the value of relationships land with you, or with people in general, you think?
So, first I want to go like even like outside of love, building relationships with, even like my customers or different vendors and different like people I work with. Having those relationships, those contacts that I can call on, is so critical to me. in my head.
Really?
Oh yeah, it's like even like the customer thing. Like I really try like from the get go to like remember customers' names, and some of them are easier to remember than others. But
Can I point something out?
yeah,
So I'm trying to think of things as really like focused on true love. And
Yeah.
and the thought, but what I liked about what you said is how you think of what would be almost NPCs in my train of thought, like the secondary characters in your book, right, of your life. Like in the past, we've talked about everyone in the same hallway,
yeah,
right? For you, like your world, for you feel everyone's in the same hallway, and that these people that may be a smaller portion of your life, like they're not strangers, but they're not like the lead characters that you're in love with or have a loving relationship with. You still feel.
I know two things about them. I know their name, and I know what they usually order.
Do you feel like
on Saturdays at the farmers market?
Do you feel like you can have love for them? Because I can't feel that.
I definitely can, because I've had that before. And it's, it's a companionate love. It's a platonic love.
Yeah.
But there's definitely been, especially at my last restaurant, we had people that would come in like every day, or, like every other day they'd be there. And we knew exactly their usual orders. Sometimes they mix up a couple things, but the usual, like we knew their preferences. We knew what they liked. We had, they had their shit on lock. And some of them, I grew to be really fond of, to where like, there's one woman she was like in her 80s or something, and she was just off the fucking wall, but she would come in and she was dancing to the music in the lobby, and like never been in there before. And she, like, we ended up talking for like 2 hours, and then she had to go to some appointment for something, a haircut or something. And she came back, and she was like, just make me like whatever. And so that's usually how it would go. She would call up, and if I was there, she would just have me make something for her. And I came to find what she liked. So I ended up sharing a bunch of recipes with her and stuff like that, because I just enjoyed her company.
But that's like, you're building a relationship with that person. Do you feel like you can like love a stranger without having, like, I get what you mean. Like I think of, man, I remember spending the night in Washington Park downtown, like back in the day. Like it was more than once, but I remember one time in particular, like
by choice.
Yeah, I had a desperate choice, but I had a choice. But I remember just chilling all night with some crazy lady I had met, and I had seen her around since that, and she didn't remember me, even though we spent all these hours together just waiting around. But like I had a sense of love, camaraderie, whatever. Like I can feel it with people that I build some sort of rapport relationship with, but I can feel empathy towards groups of strangers, but I can't feel love towards a stranger.
So in my experience, is the closest I usually get to that is like, that moment where it clicks in your head when you meet someone for the first time, and there's like either something they say or the way they react to something that you say that's like, oh, this person's cool, we're going to be friends.
Yeah, we're on the same
I can
page.
be friends with this person.
We click.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I meet a lot of people like that I don't get to spend more time with, because they're just customers that come up and get their shit and then they leave. And, it's not, like in the front, usually, like we talk a little bit while they're there about you goofy shit, and then they go about their day. But that's the closest thing I have to that is like, I look forward to seeing those people. Like one of the things that I enjoy about my job is like seeing the regular people and like hoping that they come back.
So I got 2 questions.
Yeah.
So do you feel like you obviously put a lot of value on that, those like relationships, even though they're small, you feel some sort of connection of compassion, love, whatever. Right? Can you feel that towards someone on the other side of the world without knowing anything about them? Like, can you love people?
No.
No.
I mean, it's not saying that it's not possible, but I just don't.
Way harder, right?
Yeah. Yeah. They're not real. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's just no shared experience. God, this sounds so shitty. It sounds like genocide shit, but it's like,
yeah, but no, it's real, and it's understandable in that way of how people think that way when they're confronted with that same concept of like,
right.
they, it's such a, like, literally a foreign thing, but it's like, it's not even a real, a place or a real person or a real concept of, these people in another country that need help or whatever, anything like that. So I can understand how people reach that.
Yeah. Like, I feel like, maybe
Not saying it's right, of course, but I understand it.
Yeah, like I see how with myself, and maybe to you to an extent, but definitely with myself, I just don't want to speak for you. But like I could see how like lack of love towards someone you don't know can very easily, for altruistic purposes or very manipulated reasons, be like turned from love to hate. Just like the lack of sharing a bond, like there's a lot of room for, I don't know, I don't know. Do you know what I'm saying?
I think so. Like, if all your life you're fed a certain kind of propaganda-ish kind of thing, like, this is what you come to understand about these people in this place. And even if you meet someone from there and they're not that way, it doesn't matter because.
Well, I think if you have like any bond of love towards that stranger, like you were saying, I think it can, like cut through a lot of that, but like just the not having love to a person or group of people makes it really easy for
Shirt's
like
coming off, boys.
Hell yeah.
It's too fucking hot in here.
Dude, it's hot in here too. But it makes it easy for like the negative shit to creep in. So like
yeah, I can agree with that.
Where you put value on small relationships. So how it's, I guess my second question was, I feel like you're more solitary in a lot of ways than me, but I think you put more, at least in the sense of like overall relationships, I feel like you put more importance on. I feel like I'm very focused on a small number in a way, but I feel like you're more open. So like, how does that meet up with being okay with space from people? You know what I mean?
So I think for me, a lot of it is because I'm a very solitary kind of person, when I meet someone that I do like, or that I can at least get along with, it sticks out for me. I feel like there's, and we've talked about that before, where like so much of the, I think of people as usually being shitty, or at least if they're not shitty, then, I think most people are stupid.
Yeah. I feel like
so,
and I don't think that's abnormal. I know in our conversations, I feel the same way, but I think I'd land on 50-50.
Yeah. Excuse me. So when I guess I seek that out when I'm out, and it's different also because most of the time I'm out is when I'm in the role of, when I'm at work, and I have the role of, my customer service face. And I'm really good at it. And most of the time I don't give a fuck about these people. I just want to get their orders and make their food. But you do meet people sometimes that are like, they tip really well, and they actually ask like one of my favorite things is when you say, how you doing today? How's your day been? They say, I'll have the acai bowl. And you're like, okay, cool. I guess fuck me then. Just, how's everything going today? I'm going to have a smoothie. It's like, all right, cool. Got it.
That's like the perfect example, right? So you didn't know someone, right? And you're open to the form of love, this relationship with them, even in the smallest sense, right?
Yeah.
Complete strangers, but you're open to it. And like that one thing that like that they shun you in that sense to me, that's where like I see for myself at least, it's so easy for that possibility of love to turn like right to hatred. And it's hard to always be open when like you've been burnt, you know?
So today was the closest I've come to that in a long time, and it was because I was in a lot of pain while I was at work, and it was like right at the end of the day. I was the last customer I had today.
Yeah.
And it was this girl and this guy that came up, and they said, you know, they ordered one thing, and then I started making it for them. They said, oh, actually, can we get this thing instead? And I was like, oh yeah, sure, no problem. So I, emptied the thing out, and I hadn't gotten that far into it. And then I started making the other thing, and they stopped me, and they're like, hey, does that have this in it? And it's like, the menu is right there. It's like got all the ingredients on it. Like we have one thing, we have like our ice cream bowls, and they saw the acai one, and they ordered that, and then they ordered another one. And then they were like, oh wait, does that one have acai in it? Like, no, only the acai bowl has acai in it. They're like,
it's a fun word though.
Can I have the other one? Can I have the acai bowl then? I'm sorry. And it's like,
get the fuck out of here.
Yeah. And like, I didn't even, like, I tried not to even respond to it too much. I was like, yeah, sure, of course. And, I turned around real quick so I could like not show it in my face. And I wasn't telling people that I had I was fucking sick too. Cause that doesn't, not sick, but you know what I mean? That also doesn't look good.
Yeah. But I think
probably could have milked it for tips.
I don't think that was the best example.
No, but
but I do think I think there's something very important to the bullshit hurt people kind of thing. Like when you're in pain,
yes,
emotional or mental, it completely warps perception.
Right. Yes.
Of openness to others, to love, relationships, all that shit. It's just like when your nerves are burnt like that. Everything, it goes through a different lens.
Yeah, when your mind is so focused on something else, trying to keep your shit together inside, and then you have to tend to the need of others.
Yeah, stress or pain in a relationship.
Or even if you don't have to, you feel like you have to.
Yeah. So high value. Let's say, to sum it up for you, there's like a base level of love you're looking for in people in general, in humanity. But the more intimate relationships, whether they're family, close friends, whatever, those are obviously high value tickets. Yes. So where does where are the distinctions or differences between like romantic and friend relationships, or just romantic, like love? I don't know. They're different. You love someone as a partner is different than any other relationship.
Yeah, and it's different person to person too. Like I understand like they have the unrequited love or the companionate love or courtly love and stuff like that. It's like
I don't get that.
Not to be confused with Courtney Love, but
she killed him.
Yeah, she killed him. So it's like you think about it when when you first start a relationship and you get, it's exciting and it's kind of like a puppy love kind of thing, and it's exciting and new and fresh and then, ideally it stays that way for, a decent amount of time, but it's still, it evolves and it grows into, more, it's something different. So like that courtly love, like when you're dating someone,
that's more fun.
Yeah.
Like it's got a higher vibration in the sense of like it's happier. There's like a little giddiness, nervousness to it. I think it's a more fun period, but it's a lot shallower, or less deep than
it can become it's a lot of stress.
Definitely.
It's a lot of uncertainty. I think
the perfect word for it.
So when it becomes more solid and understood, you can communicate to each other better about how you feel and, what it means to the two of you. And that's when it can start to become, a real loving relationship.
So
I firmly believe that one of the cornerstones of love is open communication, and that if you're open with each other,
you can figure most shit out.
that will help you. Yeah, it would help you to flourish your relationship.
So, do you think? I think a lot of people think this, and I guess I'm asking the same to you. Do you think romantic relationships are more of a like a form of more true love than most other love? Like, do you find the love at its most pure in that significant other in a relationship when you passionately love someone, or in friendship, or in like where does
I've thought about that before, and
it's tricky.
It is, and I think that's why it's so important to separate them, because it really is. It's like, how do you make that choice if you have someone that you plan on spending the rest of your life with? Like, how do you compare that relationship with, your with the family member?
Yeah, that's
how do you,
hard.
Like, if you had to choose, kind of thing. Like, that's fucking. It's stupid. It shouldn't work. Of course, it doesn't work like that. But it's
gun to your head. Joker's gonna blow up the other ship. If But it's
and I guess
hard.
in some cases, people do face that. I'm sure, like, if it's not, the family's shitty to the person they love or whatever, which,
Yeah, well, there's like a constant pick, like whether it's between your time with your family, time with your girlfriend, or time with your girlfriend, time with your friend, whatever relationship it is, sub in, whatever. Like, you're constantly picking between like a hierarchy of relationships, choosing how much love you put into which. That's
how much energy that you have to distribute.
Yeah, and to your earlier point, I do think you definitely got to be friends with that significant other.
It's huge. I think it's the number one thing that people fuck up is they don't start as friends first, or try to build something as a friendship.
Yeah, I don't know if it has to start, but like it has to build into something more.
It has to be someone that you want to spend time with, and someone also that can understand, because they do love you, and they want to see you happy. They can understand that, like, when you're like, hey, I need some introvert time right now, or I need, some time to, like, work on my art. I need some time alone to,
that's like communication shit. Yeah.
Like, dude, like, one of my favorite things is, being with people, whether it's friends or, people I love or whatever, that are, like, when we work on artwork or something, like, I just like to have music on and just go for it. I don't want to talk the whole time. I just want to go.
Yeah. Same.
So, like, we can be in the same room and you can read or you can do whatever.
But
like, I need that time. And it's like, having that person around is great.
Yeah.
But what I don't want is like that is the back and forth interaction.
Dude. 100%.
In that moment.
Yeah, 100%. And that's all communication shit. Because that's shit you can figure out. It can add to the experience to have that person around. But you have to draw those boundaries and communicate them well.
And it's one of those things that, like, if they love you too, like, like that, then they'll adapt to that, even if it's a newer concept to them or something that they're not used to. Like, they'll work with you if you communicate.
Dude, I know in the past, I mean, I was off the rails in general, but as I've gotten older,
no shit.
I feel like I still struggle with it at times, but I'm pretty good at telling Sarah, like, I'm either too depressed to be around someone right now, or I need to work on art and I can't talk, or I'm going to freak out. Or the big one for me is like, hey, I love you, but I'm too angry to be around anyone. Because, like, if you don't communicate that and you try to, like, push through it, you start, like, putting that anger on the other person.
Exactly.
It can sound shitty to be like, hey, I need you to leave the room for a while, but it's like, communicating that is so much better than not communicating it.
Right. Exactly right.
So what do you like? I know in the past for me, I was in so many long-term codependent relationships, and I put like the value for me was on romantic relationships as like the most intense, and then like friendship for me was like all about like brotherhood. Like, you know, we've been like brothers forever, but like
Yeah.
I put a ton of value on like the extreme form of bonding in friendship. You know, like I think because of things, you know, friends in the past, shit I went through, like it was hard for me to have like a normal relationship, romantic or friendship that wasn't like bonded by something heavy.
Yeah.
And that definitely became a problem for me. So where do you put like where's your stock go into, either back then or now? Like
I would say usually my energy goes to the romantic love scenario.
I think it's kind of natural.
Yeah. I think that's very normal. And then when I'm not in a relationship, it goes towards my work.
Skip the whole friend route.
Yep, just skip everyone else. No, I mean, like, obviously, you know, I spend time with my friends and family, but it's I really do. I've come to terms with the fact that I've self-involved with work so much that
Why though, man?
I don't know. Yeah, I really enjoy it. It's a
it.
part of what makes me who I am.
You put a lot of pride into that area of you.
Yeah, yeah.
But I don't know if you need to put as much.
And I've been learning that lately, for sure. That like I've been going really hard at it for the last 12 years, but like I can cool my jets a little bit. I'm at a point where I can kind of calm down, especially with my current job situation. I feel like I'm in a stable enough place where I can. That's not calling me every day. Like, hey, we need you to come in tomorrow. We need you to come in early. You know how you had a schedule? Fuck that whole schedule. Here's, we need you to come in.
Yeah.
And shit, yeah.
I've always admired your work ethic with that, but like not even just you. I see it with a lot of my closer friends that are like, they put a lot of their energy into work, and I'm like delayed with everything. I do everything I'm supposed to 5 years after everybody else, right? So like I get the importance of putting it into work like that, but I also feel like I don't know. I feel like there's a lot of things people miss, and I do see it in you in the sense like this newer job where you have more of that freedom. I see that you're able to put more energy into whether it's people you love or things you love, and it seems like you just seem a lot happier that way.
Yeah.
It's awesome.
Yeah, that's true. When I have time that I can invest in the things I love, then that
do what you love and fuck the rest.
I'm not used to it, which is sad.
That's kind of, I guess, what I was saying. Not that I think it's sad of you, but
I do. I absolutely do. I mean, it's not that I regret anything from the last, 10, 12 years of my life, but I definitely feel like it's...
Do you feel freer?
Now I do, yes, of course. I feel like, it's one of those great highs give way to extreme lows kind of thing, or whatever otherwise.
Kind of like
all the time I spent like deep into that and focus on that made me a stronger and better and more diligent, especially as a chef, but as a, worker. Also, like, I'm very proud of my work ethic in that regard, but like,
kind of more
because I spent all that time, now that I'm like backing away from it, it's like, oh shit, I'm free floating.
Yeah, you almost have to like go through a little grief period of mourning kind of deal.
Yeah.
One of my closest buddies that I do the pools with, I don't know, I kind of doubt he'll ever hear this, but if he does, I love you, buddy. But he talks about it all the time. He did this job that he worked his fucking ass off in the sun for 30 years, and he just got screwed over by so many people, and it just never led to what he wanted. And I think he's bitter that he doesn't have as much to show for it, or just that he put so much of that time and energy into something he didn't. He loved parts of it, but he lost out on other forms of love. That's I don't know. I think that's regret or bitterness. That's a hard thing to mourn.
It is. It really is. It's time.
Yeah. So romantic relationships, very important. What about like trust, commitment in love? Like is that difficult, easy? Do you believe in the idea of like committing long term to someone that way?
That's mostly the relationships that I try to go that I've been in the past is like longer term relationships. And like I honestly feel like, you know, obviously if there's no trust, there's not a relationship.
Yeah.
If there's a lack of trust, and like if you don't take the time to like address it and repair it, then, and you know, easier said than done, but.
So how about this? Do you believe in the idea of a soulmate, quote unquote, like a one person you're meant to be with kind of deal? Like, do you think love is unique or built kind of thing?
A little column A, little column B.
Yeah.
You know, the soulmate thing is like, it sounds ideal. It sounds
or
one of those,
or the worst. What if you never find the fucker?
I mean, true, but then, you know, you're settling, you know, and that's what most people do anyway.
That's true.
Yeah, I don't know. It's,
I think we can learn to love almost anyone. Like, I really don't believe, you're meant to be with any specific person. I think it's like broad expanses of people you could be with forever, and some people are way more likely to be a good fit, but you learn to love someone, you know?
I've met and known people that have been in arranged marriages for like 30 plus years.
Where the fuck did you meet them?
Well, it's Indian people that I've met. It's quite common in India. So like
but through work or what?
My boss in Canada, his name was Prem, and we were talking about his kids and his wife and stuff like that. I was like, oh, you know, he's saying this is their 30th anniversary coming up and something else. And I was like, oh, that's awesome. Like, how long have you known her? He's like, he's talking about when he met her. I was like, well, when did you meet her? And he was like, oh, on our wedding day.
That's fucked.
Like the day before our wedding. I was like, oh shit. And I've had friends that I went to school with there that did the same thing. And when we went to India, there were some of them that told us that they had an arranged marriage, and it's just very normal there. And a lot of them end up working out really well.
Yeah, which
is really wild to me.
It's a high success rate. I think it's even a higher rate than a typical American marriage, like divorce separation rate. I mean, that's got to be a hard thing to get like true good data on, but it seems like it works well for a lot of people, and I think that speaks to like learning to love a person. I do think it's a whole different thing, but arranged marriages I think are super fucked up, but there's also a whole cultural element to it that I don't know if I can fully understand, or definitely am not qualified to speak on, but
yeah, same. It's one of those, it's like, it's so literally foreign to us. It's such a strange alien concept to us.
There's just a potential for so many abusive things.
Yeah, and that definitely does happen too.
Yes.
At least I'm sure it's not always easy to get out of, but I know I've heard stories of that where like they get out of it, and because it's like it's an abusive thing, or it just doesn't work out, and that's
a scary concept.
It is. It's really weird.
So where do you land with marriage in general?
I think, it's for me, marriage is like, it's only weird because the government's involved. Yeah. And I get like it makes sense to have a tax break on your shit if you're
Sure.
acting as a unit.
Your insurance.
Yeah, but it's I don't know. I'm not against the idea of marriage. I just never really saw myself getting married.
Yeah, I feel it. I'm definitely with you on the importance of long-term and committed relationships. To me, that's very important. Not against other people getting married at all.
If other people want to get married, that's totally fine. I mean, I feel like it's a step you take to like solidify a thing. But where I always stopped at was like, it's such a sterile, weird way of looking at it, I think, also. But it's like, if the relationship is good as it is, why, it's not broke, don't fix it.
I think that's how I feel, but I think for typically one half of the relationship, they really want that, that social sign of long-term commitment. And I feel strongly like that if you love the person, like that those things shouldn't matter. But I feel very strongly that it is in our nature not to just love one person forever.
Yeah.
Or just maybe not word it that way. Not to love only one person forever.
I understand what you meant.
Yeah.
And also, a lifetime, with somebody a long time ago, people didn't live past, in their 40s and 50s. Mm-hmm. Now you got people living, up to 100 and shit. And it's like, 25 years is a life sentence, dog.
All right. Get to live to see all the wrinkles.
Yep.
I feel pretty strongly like marriage is something. It's like you love someone so much to make the stupidest decision possible.
Yeah.
But I think it's so romantic, and I would want to love someone lifelong. I just don't like the idea of the social aspect of it. And I really don't like, I mean, it's a separate thing, but the religion aspect of it is a whole nother can of
that's super
worms.
weird to me.
Yeah. And then like people, like I very much support anyone else getting married, making that commitment. But I do think it's kind of weird as a general thing when non-religious people get married in a church. And then like,
just because it's the thing to do. Yeah.
Yeah. Or like you want some family members to think you're religious, or you just always imagined it in a church and you have this fucking priest there that you never see on Sundays. That part of it, like, I don't like. I have a family member getting married this week, and since COVID, I haven't seen anyone on either side of the family. It's been because I was non-available for a little while before COVID and stuff. So it's been like 3.5 years since I've seen anyone. And I was like, I am not showing up to this fucking wedding. Like, I don't fucking know you, and it's at a church. Go fuck yourself.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think there's a huge thing about, like found family. I think it's instilled in a lot of us, the whole, like, they're family. You don't have to like them, but you do have to love them. Like, fuck
Not
that.
really.
That's stupid. Yeah. I kind of don't have to love these people. I don't know them. It's like, I don't know these fucking people.
Right. Dude, I'm glad you said that. So I had, like different groups in my life where like I was super lost and I would call these people my family. And then like later you realize like those people were not my family at all. It was weird we even called each other that. And like now that I see it differently. Like I really don't like when a stranger like calls you brother or something like that.
Oh, I'm really bad about that.
I've kind of noticed, but I don't think it's like, I think that's kind of just a me quirk. I mean, because it would never bother me for me, obviously. But like if a stranger I don't know calls me that, there's too much presumption for me. But what I think is really weird is like, let's just say like a reality show or some like a thing with coworkers at work when they're like, we're a family, like.
Oh God, yeah.
Dude, that makes me like want to be like, well, you know what? I'm about to kill my family.
Yeah,
like you're not my family.
the whole it was like it's like an inside joke in the restaurant community that there are so many managers and owners that do that.
I bet.
It's salty because I really felt like that in my last job, because it was just like me and 4 other people.
Yeah,
and like
that's tight.
We would, like talk to each other and grieve with each other and like open up to each other. And it really did feel like I could say that. And it was like, I know I said it a couple times, and I would always preface it with like, I know it's like the cheesiest and saltiest thing to say about work, but like most of, some of them, like I still, hang out with.
Yeah. You spent 1/3 of your life with them for years. Like, you're meant to be close. But for me, I just don't like when people presume to say they love you like family or have the adopted families, because in my experience, those always fall apart or are nowhere near as sacred as the real love of family.
And I can see that is true. I mean, like, I consider you to be, found family.
Fuck yeah, man.
It's like, if I talk to anybody, like, I would say David's in that category too. But I don't talk to him as often as I should, as I'd like to.
I definitely
shouts out to David.
Fuck
David
yeah,
Blake
David.
Music on Instagram.
That's the brotherhood love stuff, and I feel like I have a select group of people such as yourself that falls into that category, such as Sam, such as Alex, whatever. But I've became increasingly more cautious about that, because just like with a relationship, like a romantic relationship going bad, the amount of like hurt that comes with those things ending poorly can feel devastating.
Mm-hmm.
That's a weird thing, I feel like, for guys to speak about with like guy relationships that are like brotherhood shit.
Yeah, I think it's... as much as I understand it, I also I think that's a weird cultural thing that's been placed upon dudes in general.
To feel that way in general? Or?
To like feel weird about talking about your feelings about shit.
Definitely. I just have had like, my friend Tony, who talked about like someone that was my brother leaving me, or like just people that really felt like my brother for years leaving, and that love like being broken is like, oh man, that shit fucking sucks. Like that like changed shit, like that changes how you can trust people. And it's the same way with like dating, a marriage, divorce. Like those things are like hard things to be able to love again, to be able to heal from that, make new connections. That shit's fucking brutal.
Yeah. I think there's also a lot of like, there's a lot of the, like when you have, hurts like that, it makes it easier to build walls.
Yeah.
I find that I've done that a lot in the past. I build walls, and then, for whatever reason, I, whether it's a different relationship or otherwise, that like, you start to break it down a little bit and let people in. And then, only that, like, when it goes away, then, like, that's part of, like, the grieving process of, like, a relationship is, like, those walls go back up, like, 3 times stronger than they were in the first place, because you doubt yourself and you feel stupid for, like, letting people in. And it's like, fuck, like, why did I do that? I should have listened to myself. I knew better, But, what I've also come to find is that the time spent with that person, even if it ended poorly, the good time that was spent with that person it has to be enough.
Yeah. It's not a waste if you enjoyed that time.
Yeah.
It's fucking hard though.
Yeah.
One of my buddies, his thing was always the 10-year rule. Like outside of romantic relationships, which maybe has like half the rule. Like if you don't know somebody for 10 years, you don't really love them. You don't really know them and you don't really love them. It's like, I find that more and more true.
Yeah.
The people that are in my life longer than 10 years, I fucking love them to death. You know what I mean? If there was any question, we wouldn't have made it that long.
Yeah.
Not that you gotta wait 10 years to love the person, but it's a good indicator if someone stayed with you one way or another.
Yeah.
Like
At least, even if it's not like whatever, they're not around you, or, you don't, even if you don't call all the time, like, it's still like you can pick up a phone and talk to them, or pick up a, whatever and talk to them. And it's like it was just yesterday. That's the one thing. It's like, even if I don't talk to David a lot, when I do reach out to him, it's like, did we just talk like, yesterday is how it always feels.
Yes. Like all the friends, brothers, whatever, like people that I thought were that close. If we didn't make it to 10 years, it wasn't real like that. I remember every time when I was like on my fucking 8-year fucking run, anytime, because we weren't talking all the time, and anytime we get on the phone, you would always say that, like, is like, if we could pick up the phone, it feels like you pick right back up where you were. Like, you know, you love the person.
Yeah.
So what about negatives with, should we go positive or negative? Like kids or like breakups? You pick.
Let's go, let's do some negatives.
Okay. And then we'll get to the...
So, of course, I mean, like, because we're already kind of talking about, like, when you invest, your time, your energy, your love into somebody, only to have that, whether it's, broken by something that they did, or whether it's, just kind of slowly deteriorates, like, it hurts because, I think part of it's also because you have invested all of this time and energy into it. So that's in that way, it is similar to the work thing a little bit, because, you spent so much time trying to build this up, and then when it does come down, where they betray your trust in a way that, like, is irreparable, it's so hard to forgive because you made yourself so vulnerable.
Right.
And they took advantage.
Yeah, they have someone can have a substantial piece of you or place in your mind that is hard to just like rebuild or heal or whatever. I used to think each breakup has taught me a lot, but I used to think relationships were so special, or like that love was really unique. And each time I feel so much stronger that love is learned. And at first I thought that made each relationship less special, right? Mm-hmm. Like it wasn't the same, or like I can't love the person the same in that exact same way, right?
Right.
And have learned that to be increasingly less true. That I do feel like it's always a little less special in one way, but because I know how to like learn it with a person now, it feels much deeper. It's weird. I don't know if I'm explaining that well.
No, I think I understand. It's once you understand love more, or you feel more comfortable in your understanding of what love is.
Yeah.
Than when you were, younger and you're figuring it out. And I think it's the same way for me. As I said, I've always been in longer term relationships. So I place a lot of, it's just what I prefer. So I place a lot of energy in, what's the word I'm looking for? Importance in,
I already know, bro. You're like, you have to be like the best boyfriend ever. I can see it.
I super am.
You're on top of shit. I already know.
So like having that open communication and having, a trust, and having that is really important. And, we've said, like, people like love differently and they have different experiences. So you have to learn based off, the way that they, were raised by their family, or the way, and the way that they love each other, and the way that they've loved people in the past, and the way that people in the past have loved them. You have to like consider all the angles that they're coming from.
I hate the family angle.
It's weird. Sometimes it's real fucked up.
I've always felt that way. It's not about any family in particular, but that's the element that's always the hardest for me. Man,
my ex-girlfriend, if anything, like it was immediately after moving up here, I met her, and we were together for a couple of years, but if anything came of it, like I am great friends with their family now. It's like a weird scenario. When we broke up, they were like, their mom was like, but awesome. Rich can still come over and hang out, right? And it's like, yeah, of course. Like, duh.
That's cool.
Like, we're not losing him
weird.
too, right?
Right. Can I run one by you?
Yeah.
So this kind of goes with, I feel like I can love better when I don't need a person. Like in the past, like needing that relationship made it way, way worse. It made it more painful when it was over, but it made it like really difficult. Like I don't want to be with someone that needs me, and I don't want to need someone that way.
Yeah, that struck a chord in me too. Like I don't. It's like the song I Want You to Want Me thing. It's like but I need you to need me thing. I don't like that. I want you to want me. I want you to want me to be around. That's what I want. I don't want you to need me.
Right. See, I wanted all my relationships to be like a fucking Eminem song.
Is that an Eminem song too?
No, but like all his, Kim, all that shit. It's all like abusive relationships where you like love the fuck out of the person so much you're crazy. You know what I mean? I wanted someone to need me like that, and it's like the worst thing you could.
I realized, especially after one of there's like the first really abusive relationship I was in, that needing thing, whether it's actually needing or just a control thing.
Yeah.
It's not comfortable. It's not right. Like, the other one is like, you can't, like, you're not responsible for their happiness.
Right.
Like you,
Anyone's.
Yeah, exactly. You are responsible for not pissing them off doing something that is going to piss them off. But if it's something that's like, if you were in a relationship with someone that said like, oh, I don't like that you spend so much time making art. It's like, oh, then this isn't going to work out.
Right. You're responsible for not hurting someone, but you're not responsible for fulfilling them or making them happy.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. I had, you've probably heard this from me in the past at some point, but my last relationship, we were together 5 years, and on our 5-year anniversary, I fucked up, like fucking ugly relapse. And it was some bad shit, but, she left me on the anniversary, and that altered me in ways that I couldn't see were positive at the time. But what I was the most, this sounds probably kind of weird and bitter, but later there was a chance to like, retry things, but I didn't want it, because as soon, like if I love somebody long term, whether it's friendship, romantic, family, even whatever, if someone betrays me in my mind, like one of my, mantras to myself is betrayal is execution. Like if you fuck me over in a time where like I needed that person, like you're done. Like, and it was fucking hard with that relationship, but I found so much like pride or fucking grace, whatever, like in like standing to what was true for me. It was like I can't, I can't like and I think I don't know. I see value in forgiveness. There's different levels. It's not all black and white, but I think
right. Yeah, forgiveness is for you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And, there are times to forgive someone, whether it's cheating, whatever. I don't know. There's lots of things that sometimes could be forgiven, sometimes they can't. But depending on what you've like told yourself to be true for you, if you don't stick to that like moral stance for yourself, I think it'll eat you up forever. Like if I would have gone back on that, I feel like I would have been miserable.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I agree. And there's, I think that part of that loss of that, that grieving process of going through the motions of, because the whole point of that is to move forward, right?
Yeah.
So, finding a cornerstone of something that you can, something that, like you said, like a core value in your own life that you can fall back on that justifies you and justifies moving forward.
Sure.
Like with my last relationship, for me, it was, it's like, I'll never second guess myself again. Like I'll never, cause there was so many times that I did that. And I thought that from my previous relationship that was abusive, that I was just being like jealous and callous and, whatever. And I didn't want to be that person, but I still felt like something was wrong. And I realized the whole time that like, oh, I was right though. I was right to be this.
That's the worst feeling.
Yeah. It's like you feel like a fool and, but it's like, I'll never doubt myself again. That tells me that like my core is right. And I knew better and I just didn't listen to myself because I had self-doubt and I won't do that again. So
Are we both on the same page in the sense like no matter how bad the negatives are, it's understandable to like sever an opportunity with love with an individual, but not to like, the people that are like, I can never love again. Like that shit's
that's
fucking
weird.
stupid,
yeah,
right?
No, that's fucking stupid.
I understand the feeling, but it like
I also get the feeling of like when you've been someone that was, a really important person in your life, and it ends, my last relationship, even though it ended and I felt, like, some of the things were shaky and weird about it and whatever, but it was still it was one of the healthiest relationships I ever had in that way, where it was like, we never argued about shit. We never once got in an argument over the 2.5 years we were together.
yeah.
Never, even the breakup was like super amicable and it made sense and it was like we talked it out kind of thing.
Pretty chill.
Yeah. So, but it was still like a really like a shake, like a shitty experience, but and shakes you to the core. But I definitely found myself thinking like, I'll never find someone like them again kind of thing. And it's like, no, like I felt that way for like, a little while and it was like, no, you'll be fine. Shit's going to move forward.
Yeah.
Yeah. It wasn't like I'll never love again. It was just like, wow, that person was really incredible and I'm never going to find someone like that. But I think also in falling back and realizing that like, wow, I doubted myself and I shouldn't have, that also helped me move forward from that.
Fuck yeah. I know when I was younger, breakups were like instantly suicidal or like, I needed that person at the time, right? And they in my mind, they betrayed me, fucked me, or whatever. And it's like, man, there's just so many aspects of that are so unhealthy. And then like when you see friends who it's like, it's supposed to be heartbreaking when something ends, but like to be totally hopeless is I don't know. It sucks to watch somebody go through that because you're like, man, you gotta just fucking stay giant, keep it fucking moving. Like,
yeah,
I know for myself, like at 15 or whatever, I could have been like 3 moves away from being like an incel fucking serial killer on the internet, right? Like it wouldn't have taken that much to move me over at certain points in time, but it's like, you can't give in to it that much or that sense of loss or heartbreak or whatever. You got to keep it fucking moving.
Yeah, and I think part of that, I feel the same way that I could have gone that direction, but it's like there's a sense of pride. I think that's what it is. I might be misreading that in myself, but I think it's pride, or it's a sense of confidence, maybe that pulls me away from that.
It's a swagger, bro.
That's like that's a swagger, dog.
Man, if you look at our notebooks from high school, both of us, I'm sure, like, I don't know if we were that far away from being a monster.
absolute terror to society.
And then fucking 10 years later, we're making raccoon themed podcast. Oh, fuck.
So I love that you had the fucking Liquid Diaries, and I was like, fuck, I need to make something like that. it's so grotesque and shitty, and it's like, fuck, I need to be doing shit like this.
Man, but I mean, for both, that's a perfect example. Putting like your passion and love, it's different form, same shit though. Putting that energy into making something outside of yourself, especially for me, it's important when it's not a relationship. Like, that's fucking purpose, dude. Like, having, I don't know. I find purpose in making, I always say it to myself, my purpose is to make pretty shit. Like, it can be shit, it can be pretty, it's probably gonna be pretty shit, but I have to put that love into something outside of myself that ideally isn't just another person, where I have no purpose. Yeah.
It can be pretty, it can be shit, and it can be pretty shit.
Yeah. A lot of people, I think, it is into another person instead. Like, I think kids are the purpose for a lot of people, for both good and bad. I'm not saying it's bad, but I think they're
right.
It can be elements of that. Like, you hear people say they only live for their kids, or they didn't know. I don't get the line, like, you can't understand love until you've had a kid.
It's you like, know, and I can understand it in a certain way, but I mean, you know, we also don't have kids, but also it's like, it's a different kind of love.
Speak for yourself. I got 2 cats.
Yep. Yeah, I was just looking at my cat over here. She's curled up in the corner, and she's awake. She's just looking at me with her head upside down, like, whenever you're done, asshole.
Right. But it's so cringe when people are like, no, they really are my kids.
But this one is, you know, she took care of me the other day when when I was like awesome. Shaking and cold chills and shit. And
yeah, the old dope sickness.
Yeah, dude, honestly, like, I've never felt that before, but boy, that was, I feel like that's close to what it feels like for me, because I was just like,
I bet it's pretty comparable.
My whole body shit. Was just like, it's rejecting a thing inside of me, and like, you know, even this afternoon I got home and I felt like trash because I decided it'd be a smart idea to go to work today. And I got
home. Text me that. I was like, no, why did you do that?
It was a terrible idea. I mean, I did fine. It was whatever, but I got home and I had to take a nap, and I woke up and my cat was sleeping on me the whole time. It was nice.
I just think the people that say that about kids, there's such a lack of imagination. Like, I get it might be like a purer sense of love than maybe we can experience.
Right.
But I mean, I don't know, man. It just seems a little extreme.
Yeah. I like how Tom Segura said something about having kids in one of his specials, and he's like, people say all the time that it's the most selfless thing that you can do is have kids. He's like, no, it's actually the most selfish thing. You're right. Making a version of yourself. You think that the world needs more of you.
Yeah, and you want to make it happy and perfectly taken care of. It really is. I think part of it really is like an evolutionary trick that we, you know, is ingrained into us to want a piece of ourselves to survive past our lifespan.
Yeah. And I do think that it can help a lot of people that are like, I'm gonna bring this person into the world, and I'm gonna give them all the things that I wish that I had, or all the things that I didn't have. Like, I'm gonna make sure that they have those things.
Right.
You know, like, that was one of my dad's big things he told me when he was growing up, was like, his relationship with his dad was really weird and shitty. And, you know, his whole goal, like one of his whole goals was like to make sure that I didn't have that.
Yeah.
You know, and you know, yeah, goofy shit, like, or even like he got into AC when he was a kid, like HVAC, because he realized like my family should never have to go without air conditioning.
That's cool.
Yeah, it's like it's an, you know, the things that he, you know, put the value on, like giving to me what he didn't have or that he wished he should have had, kind of stuff that I you know, I try not to take for granted because, you know, it was the way I was raised, but and it works now because like there's so much stuff that I'm doing around the house that it's like, oh, I know how to do this because
like my fucking dad was awesome. Yeah,
exactly.
Dude, that's what a dad who, like a real dad who loves his kids does. It's like you try to give them a childhood you didn't have or the life you didn't have. And I think part of that, though, naturally is like people trying to heal themselves. Like you do for your kid what you wish wasn't the same for you, you know?
Yeah.
Which is awesome.
And now my dad helps us get our plays on Spotify.
Yeah. He's probably a third of our plays.
Yeah.
But I do think it's I don't know. I think there's something so beautiful or altruistic about the idea of adoption.
Yeah, I've always liked that idea.
That's what I would want to do. I feel like a lot of people in our generation, I think having a kid could be cool, but it never has felt like a possibility. You know what I mean? Like shit has always been too bleak for that to be an option. I feel like a lot of people in our age range feel that way.
Yeah, I've always liked the idea of adoption, mostly because like there's so many kids that like go through the system and they never get adopted. Like that's so fucked up. And meanwhile, you know, people are, you know, having 8-9 kids. And they don't have, you know, a single penny to support any of them.
See that?
I think that's some other wild shit.
Yeah, that's a whole nother thing. But I'm with you. That's I don't know. You got it. But I think the idea of like adopting actually would be like inactive pure love more than, not that making your own baby is bad at all, but I think there's something, I can see an element of choosing to love a stranger to have, I don't know, there's something very pure or sacred about that.
All that having a kid means is that you were too lazy to pull out. When you adopt a kid, it's because you want to share that love with somebody.
Of course.
There's actually a quote, and it was something from I read a long time ago, but it did stick with me, and they said something about the kid learned they were adopted, and they asked, what does that mean? And they said, well, that means that my love for you grew in my heart instead of my womb. And I was like, oh, it's a really sweet way of putting that. I really like that.
That is. I like that a lot.
I mean, and that being said, like I'm at the age now where it's like most of the girls that I'm interested in are, you know, around our age or whatever. And they're single moms.
There's a lot. Yeah.
So, you know.
Have you ever dated somebody with a kid?
I have not.
I have.
I'm not against it.
Yeah.
By any means. I think it would be fun. It's a lot of responsibility. You gotta get someone that's they're past the age of diapers, so I don't have to change no diapers.
I don't know if I got enough love for that.
Yeah, for other people's kids, nah, I'm good. Fuck, I couldn't even do it for my niece and nephew. Really,
right? I
think I changed one diaper when I was a kid and I about threw up.
There's definitely good and bad with it. What about so we got like loving kids, loving other people. What about loving non-human or things that are physical? And where's the balance with like the love of physical and non-physical things, whether that's spiritual or things greater than ourselves or just our physical world?
Yeah, so of course, like, you know, I think a lot of people say like, oh, I love food. It's like, that strikes a chord with me because it's, you know, more than just eating it, but like, the physical act of like cooking and making things with food
it's an experience.
And it's for me, like, that's my bread and butter, literally. That's my career. That's my best skill, I think, is my ability to do that. And to cater to someone's, allergies and needs and stuff and their tastes and what they look for. Like, I'm really good at that. So I think, if food is definitely, it's got to be at the top of most people's list of like non-human things that they love.
Yeah.
Same with like
drugs beats it.
I can see that too. That's fair. Dude, if I had a goddamn pain pill right now, yeah, I can see that in this moment because I definitely can't eat. Dude, I stopped on the way home and I couldn't think of anything that I actually wanted to eat. Nothing sounded good, but I hadn't eaten in like 24 hours and I was like, I need to eat something. I need to get some kind of food into my system.
You're basically dope sick, bro.
Yeah. But nothing sounded good and I was like, all right, what can I put down no matter what every single time? And it was
bread and butter.
It's like pizza and Taco Bell. I didn't want to have to make anything or like do any work for it. So I was like, all right. So I wasn't going to I wasn't patient enough to like wait for pizza. So I went to Taco Bell and I got it. I brought it home.
With kidney stones, you're eating Taco Bell.
Yeah.
Cause I eat trash, baby.
And I had a couple bites and I had to put it away because I just couldn't do it. So I'm still running on like nothing right now. I got just water and shit in me. I'm starting to finally, and I did have some pineapple earlier. That helped. But how did I get to talking about this?
So aside from Taco Bell, it's physical things, and then like spiritual or outside of ourselves or the physical realm.
Oh yeah, so like even like concepts and ideas and stuff. Like when we talk about
skipping the physical.
Well, I mean the physical.
You got Taco Bell. That's all you need.
Yeah, Taco Bell. Yeah, exactly. No, I mean I do consider myself somewhat materialistic because there are certain things that like I buy myself, and that's one of my forms of self-love. I don't think that's like one of my ways that I communicate love with other people is like through gifts at all. But like for myself, like that retail therapy shit like really works for me. Like if I work really hard, so I feel like if there's something that I want, I should have it. If I can afford it, I should have it.
It's mine. I spent.
So like that's why I have, a dual monitor setup, even if it doesn't work the way I want it to, and I have, I go out and like I'll buy shit for myself because I know that it'll bring me some kind of happiness to have it. Or, even like, I had a towel rack in the bathroom, but I didn't like it. So I got a new one. And it's like, it's stupid shit like that. That's like, it's just for the aesthetic of it. Well, also it was like on the opposite side of the bathroom than the shower was. And that was extremely inconvenient. So it wouldn't fit on the wall closer. So I had to get a shorter one anyways, but
I do see that with you. You're a bit of a there's another word for it, but I believe people also just call it a physicalist.
Yeah, and it's like I mean, I like having nice shit for myself, mostly because I feel like I work hard for it. So
yeah, there's nothing wrong with it.
Yeah.
I'm not big on it myself though. I like small things, but I typically like spending my money on things that make me feel something. I am a drug addict, but like in general, like fucking candy or like a more experience-based things than physical things. And some of that might just be like survival mechanisms, like, oh, I'm too, I want to be free of the material world and all my baggage because I didn't have money for it. You know what I mean? But,
yeah.
But I do like the feeling, like I don't like owning a lot of things. It makes me feel anxious.
That also can be a thing. I've always liked the idea of like, I forget the quote, but it was something like, if you own a dresser and a doormat, you own too many things.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, like that's because I like the minimalism thing. I like the idea of also being able to just like pick up and dip.
But
my lifestyle so doesn't fit that. So
it's starting to change for me too. But I see the importance of having some of those things to give like a root to the real material world. But I like a lot of the freedom from the things too. I think everyone has their own like healthy balance or relationship of like how much love they should have for the physical realm.
Right.
What about? I know I think I knew where you're going with ideas. I think for most people, it's things such as religion or God or a thing greater than themselves. They have this love, that they feel they give themselves purpose with or put into this other thing. But for you, I see it as more ideas.
Yeah, the whole, like, when we talked about like black holes and like string theory and stuff like that, it's like, I don't know the fucking math, you know, like that's the main, that in my high school grades are the two things holding me back from theoretical physics is like, I don't like math that much.
Yeah.
So I really enjoy, just the concept of talking about things that we don't quite understand and like trying to find balance in it and like the concept of like what it means to be alive and like what if there is other shit out there? Is it scarier if there isn't other shit out there? Like shit like that makes like those kind of conversations I really treasure that.
Can I ask an exploratory question?
Sure.
Because I don't know how I feel about it with myself, so I'm definitely not being shitty. But what do you think of the idea of, like, do you like those ideas because it is a form of entertainment in the sense, like, you're, like, loving yourself? Like, it's almost like you're stimulating your own mind. It's a way to, like, make yourself feel good about those ideas? Or is something like, I feel like with God, it's something religious people really pour into this external thing, even though it has the same effect. Like you feel better about yourself. It entertains your mind. It's all like a masturbatory in a way.
Yeah. I can see it being a little bit of both. I think mostly the first one and mostly just a thing that's for, me because I enjoy it makes me feel good to talk about kind of thing. It makes me, I enjoy that conversation. So it's fun for me to talk about. But I think it's also a little bit of the second one where it's instead of a feeling like you're a part of something, more like a detachment from everything. Like I've always found solace in the idea that we're just, like the equivalent of what happens, when mold grows on bread or something. And it's like, it's the same thing. We're just on a rock in space.
Right.
And we're such a small and insignificant thing, but like that, for some reason that brings me great comfort, in that detachment from like, the meaning of, I've always found it, what it means to me is that like the purpose of my actions is all my own. So like,
it's the free will stuff.
Yeah, exactly. Like if all we are is, fucking dust in the wind, man, then, when I choose to do something for people or when they choose to do something for me or for myself or whatever, like it means more. Because if none of this matters and it's all small and insignificant, then the relationships and the things that you do build and, hold on to hold more importance.
Yeah. Or just, the ashes of angels. Let me, turtle soup. Let me just throw this at you before we move on to language stuff. So like, I was going to ask you, why do we love those ideas? Like, for me, like, I'm listening to all these podcasts all fucking day, 10 hours a day, whatever, of, like, political shit, primarily philosophy, art stuff, and, like, I genuinely love it. Like, it's makes me feel good. I enjoy it. It's entertainment, but I'm I wanted to ask you, like, why do you love those ideas? And when I'm thinking about it for myself, it feels like I love it just not because I love the idea so much, but because it feels good for me to think about. And I don't think that's bad, but is there something external about it? Or is it all just internal, like ways to like feel good about ourselves or entertain? I don't know.
I do think some of it's masturbatory in the way that it's like, it makes you feel smarter, maybe. That you listen to that kind of stuff. And because I've definitely thought that. Yeah. But it's, and I feel like it's also something of the, of a religion thing where like you're finding, especially with like the string theory stuff, like finding how the world works and finding, how everything, how the universe works and everything like that. Like there's I think a comfort in finding, even if it's just, you look at it as ideas that can be used to, describe it. It's still comforting, especially if nothing else that's been presented fits your comfort, fits your view, like religion didn't do it for me. So when people come along and they say, oh, well, check this idea out. It's like, oh, that really resonates with me. You find a comfort in that is, I mean, it's for you, so I think it is a lot of selfishness to it.
That's what I'm starting to think. Like one of Sarah's friends that we play some games with, he knows we podcast and that I like weird ideas and shit. So he had like wrote down the name of this theory he was excited about. And he's
was
like,
it Time Cube?
I actually forget the name. It was the idea that the universe is a selfish child. Like that God, the creator of the universe, isn't the father. It's a selfish child. And it was more complex, but that was the analogy. But he wrote it down for me, and he's like, he was excited to give it to me because he's like, he knew I would be excited about it because I love those type of weird things. And, I looked it up. I enjoyed it. But it's a total contradiction to our physical world. Like if you're a physicalist or whatever, like the importance is on the material world and like the reality we're in. It's not, all the simulation is garbage, right? It's about our true, genuine physical experience. And the idea stuff is primarily what I'm interested outside of like making things. And I think it's what we're both interested in a lot of ways. But it is kind of like it's just kind of like abstract bullshit to make ourselves feel happy. Like there's no, like we learn things. I guess it depends. I guess in a way you learn things about your real world, right? Like it depends on what you're discovering. But in a lot of ways, the really weird stuff that's really exciting, it's all kind of just for fun in a way. Like it doesn't have practical effect on our experience.
Yeah. I think even in like the concept of like different utility work, there's a lot of that I find with that. It's like there's a pleasure of learning how a thing works. And it's like something that is so common and such a regular thing, but like electricity. Like learning to do electrical work. Like I don't know that fucking much about it, but my dad got me a little electric, like electronics learning lab kind of thing when I was young. And I never really got like, way into it. I didn't like make a radio or whatever, but we made, you can set up different, wires to make a circuit to like turn on lights. And like then you set it up so like it turns on a light when you press a button. And then you set it up so like it turns on a light and a sound when you press a button and, different shit. And it's like understanding how that works and like how that routes is like, I think it's, I would correlate it with that too, because it's like literally you're learning the way a thing works in our physical world. I think that's like you were saying, like it's with the
It's the love of knowledge.
Yeah, right? And it's like even like the string theory stuff. Like when it's like this works on what we understand about the world. Like this is observable science that we can look at. Like not so much the strings thing, but like we can look at this and we can see how this could work like this. We can do the math and it makes sense. And it's like, oh, that's really impressive. That's really cool.
Yeah.
You know, you can't do that with religion. It doesn't work that way. It's based on faith.
It informs some people how to react in their material world, but
religion?
Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean, a lot of people actually get very concrete things out of it, but I find the idea so much more important. But I think your point is it's all about how you utilize the idea of it to discover its true value, right?
Yeah.
Dope. Languages.
So the 5 love languages. So there's a book called The 5 Love Languages: How to Express Heartfelt Commitment to Your Mate. It's from 1992. It's a book by Gary Chapman.
Our boy Gary. I think
it's Dr. Gary Chapman.
Dr. Gary Chapman. He's a fellow doctor.
Doctor.
I thought this shit was like super cheesy when I first heard it, and then it's like, I don't know, maybe it's just like a wisdom thing. Like there's some true value in understanding this about people you love.
I think it's important to quantify some things that make sense, and especially in something that is hard to put labels on, like love. You know, when you're able to kind of break it down a little bit, and it's still considered, you know, these are general ways that romantic partners express and experience love. He calls them the love languages. The 5 of them are words of affirmation, quality time, giving gifts, acts of service, and physical touch.
And if you do all 5 at once, you become a fucking god.
Yeah.
Man, I'll tell you what, the gift-giving people, it's a little selfish.
A little selfish?
I like gifts. I like giving gifts, but the people that are like,
oh, he doesn't give me anything, he doesn't love me?
No, or that their only way, not only way, but primary way to express love to other people is gift giving. It's, maybe they're trying their best. I get it. Like, that definitely is the case for some people. Well, I think a lot of times it's the most impersonal way you can show someone love, unless it's really. You know,
I think so a little bit.
Not all the time, but if the people that are hyper focused.
Yeah. See, I felt that until I met my ex's mom, and she's very much a gift person. Like even after we broke up, it was like my birthday and they wanted to take me out to dinner, and I was like, oh yeah, sure, we'll do that. And then we went out to dinner, and they were, you know, we went back to their house, and I was about to go to my car, and they're like, you got to come inside. We have presents for you. I'm like, why do you have presents for me? They're like, don't act like you didn't expect them. It's like, I didn't. I super didn't at all. Yeah. Like, I was surprised you guys even wanted to go out in the first place.
I just think, I think that's a very sweet example, but I just think the people that can't express their love, so they have to use money, I think that's when it's problematic.
Yeah. I mean, and there also is like handmade things. Like, I love a handmade thing.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. Fuck yeah. Or like true thought into it. But when people have to like, I'm going to spend as much money without any thought on something because it's the only way to show someone I care, that's when it gets like toxic.
This woman got mad at me because she was asking me what I wanted for my birthday. And I was like, I don't know. It's like some more paint for my apartment. And she was like, I'm not getting you paint for your birthday. Like, I was like a Home Depot gift card or something. Like, this is what I want. Like, I buy things for myself that I want.
Right.
So I don't really want for much. Anyways, so the book has a bunch of examples from his counseling practice, from Dr. Gary Chapman's counseling practice, as well as questions to help determine one's own love languages. According to Chapman's theory, each person has one primary and one secondary love language. And of course, that doesn't mean that you don't experience or appreciate the other ones.
I think that's a bullshit claim in the sense, like, that might very well be typically true, but I mean, he has no evidence to support that claim. It's different for everyone, right? I mean,
Yeah.
I don't know what Chapman was thinking. We're going to have a long talk if he wants to keep his license. Call the board after this.
We have to tag him on Instagram.
Fuck yeah.
So Chapman suggests that to discover another person's love language, one must observe the way they express love to others and analyze what they complain about most often and what they request from their significant other most often. He theorizes that people tend to naturally give love in a way that they prefer to receive love, and better communication between couples can be accomplished when one can demonstrate caring to the other person in the love language the recipient understands. An example would be if a husband's love language is acts of service, he may be confused when he does the laundry and she doesn't perceive that as an act of love, viewing it as simply performing household duties because the love language she comprehends is words of affirmation, which is verbal affirmation that he loves her. She may try to use what she values, the words of affirmation, to express her love to him, which he would not value as much as she does. If she understands his love language and mows the lawn for him, he perceives it in his love language as an act of expressing her love for him. Otherwise, if he tells her he loves her, she values that as an act of love. And there were, I don't know who these people are, but I also saw in this article that Egbert and Polk, whoever the fuck Egbert and Polk are, in 2006 suggests that the 5 love languages thing might have some degree of psychometric validity. So it's come kind of back full circle where they're talking about like there's something to be.
There's something. I'm glad Porky Pig and Egbert agree. Well, the trash cats agree too, you stupid fucks. I think there's the importance of knowing what the person you love, whether it's friend, family, whatever, knowing how to express that love to them and what you can most easily receive is very important.
Now, if I were to ask you, like, not to pick just one or two, how about if I asked you to rank these as most important to least important to you?
Definitely physical touch is probably the most important for me. That hardcore love. Physical touch, but for real, like even the small shit, that's exclusive to romantic, but physical touch and words of affirmation, quality time could probably be second too. Just kind of depends on the dynamic of that relationship. Like if I care about somebody and they don't give me any of their time, I understand being busy. I understand all that shit. I'm not like, I don't ever want to be super needy, but if it's hard to get to be around a person you care about, they don't want to be around you that much, right? Or they're really struggling. It's one of the two. So definitely physical touch first, words of affirmation and quality time could tie for second. And then, acts of service, giving gifts it depends on the gift. It can be super important, but as a general thing, that's way lower on the list for me.
I think I mostly agree with that. I feel like the physical touch and words of affirmation are kind of tied for one for me.
Yeah.
But the same quality time and acts of service than giving gifts afterward.
Like, I don't need to hear that someone loves me all the time, but like, I always tell, family, girlfriend, and friends. At pretty much any time I talk to my friend, I want to say that at some point.
Yeah.
I don't know. You just never fucking know when it's so cheesy, but you never know when's the last time you get to express something to somebody.
Right. And there's that part of it, and there's also a part of it where like if like I spent some time in a relationship where they wanted to keep it like secret from people. Yeah, and that was really weird.
Yeah.
And I didn't like that at all.
There's extenuating circumstances for minimal amounts of time, but anything non-extenuating or prolonged is bullshit.
Yeah. Yeah. When it's, a couple of years in and then there's people that they work with every day that have no idea that they're in a relationship.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, this is weird.
Yeah. I don't know. Physical touch sounds, it's hard to talk about as, I think for anyone really, but I feel like as a guy, it's hard to express how important it is without sounding like scummy. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I know what you mean. Yeah.
But it's like I feel like most guys, not all, but it's like it's how I both connect and like have fun with a partner. Like
right.
I like to think of it as the fun part, and like it's how I most efficiently feel it. And it's like
and it's like it doesn't even mean like sex,
right, just feeling close.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, that's important.
And of course, and sex is, I feel like that's also a really important part of a relationship.
Holding hands, aka hand fucking.
Hand fucking.
I gotta be hand fucking on the regular.
Kind of slip in that little middle digit and kind of tickle their palm.
Oh yeah.
T.
I don't like public affection stuff though. Is
Really?
that weird? I'm not against like casual like holding hands a little bit, but I don't want to walk a mile holding anyone's sweaty palm, and I don't want to make out like I don't know, at the park. Like
Oh, I'm down with that.
when I was younger, yeah, but I don't know. I just don't like. I don't care if other people are, but it doesn't do anything for me. I'll put it that
Yeah.
way. I just want to Sarah went to some fucking show, and I was like, I'm cool. And like the next night, we were just chilling. I got pistachio ice cream, and we watched some stupid show, just laying around in our pajamas. I'm like, this is the perfect date for me.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like-
No. I get that. I absolutely get that.
Didn't need sex, didn't need a show, whatever. Just want to be able to like touch you and like feel close and
Spending time
Chill.
in your personal space with
yeah,
each other, just being comfortable to be yourself. Yeah,
that's where it's at for me.
I agreed. Boy,
We're getting there. We're getting there. This was fun though. I don't know.
Yeah,
You don't
this-
get to talk about this shit much.
Yeah. So there, we did find, I think, was it on recording that you were asking me about this, or was this a completely different conversation, the philia and phobia thing?
It was on phone,
Oh, okay.
but I
So
do
it
record
was-
all of our phone calls just on Bob Ross's enemies. I haven't figured out what I'm gonna do with them yet, but it's all on a hard drive.
You just have tons of hard drives. Some of it's all, and you're recording it with Audacity, so it saves the like
And if I-
10 gigabyte files.
And if I miss the recording, I just Freedom of Information request the NSA, and they give me the phone call every time.
So there's the we were looking at you had asked about the root kind of thing of philia and phobia. So of course philia is usually translated as friendship or affection. The opposite is called is a phobia, and so apparently that is a root that's common.
See, I had it mixed up because I know phobia is fear, and I thought it was like a common thing that philia was love, right? Like I feel like most of the time when you hear people talks about different types of philia, it's normally a negative one, whatever. But like most of the time you hear
Oh, and
yeah. Most of the time you hear philia, it's like you think love or attraction of sorts.
yeah.
And we were on the phone, and I kind of thought it was an interesting analogy that philia actually is more directly translated as friendship or affection and not like love.
In the Greek sense, yes. But of course, what our society has turned it into.
Right. That's the analogy.
Yeah.
Just interesting.
Yeah. I also thought this was kind of an interesting topic, aromanticism.
Yeah, I don't know about it. It's
I don't either. I really don't know much about it. And it's one of those things that I find very interesting. But it's, I think it's harder to relate to because it's like asexual. I can almost understand, more.
Yeah.
But aromanticism, for people that don't know, it's people that either are not interested in, or they avoid a romantic relationship with somebody. And that not meaning, they're not, by definition, not asexual. They just don't seek romance out of the relationship.
Because you could be, I mean, it's an extreme example, but you could be hypersexual and aromantic.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think part of that is, I wouldn't go as far to say it's not real. I think some people could come by that genuinely, but I just feel like the people in my life that I've seen experience that are just closed off to the possibilities of romance or love, I think it's something people do to protect themselves from vulnerability or just the negative aspects of those things.
Yeah, that I can see that making sense.
And, love fucking hurts. I think a lot of people, I see how it could be very easy to be turned off by the whole idea of both love and romance. And especially when you have like the really heavy things like abuse or whatever, to me, it just makes a lot of sense. I don't know. I think it can be kind of a tell. But I also think some people might just be so inclined to not have much value on romance or whatever.
Yeah. Definitely a different mindset, different, like you said, different core value set.
Yeah, priority with it.
Yeah.
Did you want to speak any more on that, or
like the negative aspects of love?
Yeah.
I mean, like I mentioned earlier, I was like in an abusive relationship kind of situation, and it was mostly like gaslighting and shitty stuff like that. And it was more like I was paying some of this girl's bills and buying her groceries. And then I'd give her like money to buy groceries, and then she'd go spend it all on weed and beer and shit. And it was like, this isn't what I was giving you money for. Like, whatever. If you're happy, then, whatever. So it worked.
That sounds terrible.
It did. It was fucking terrible. I mean, also I was young. I was,
I said it sounds terrible, but I know what you mean.
Yeah.
Because when you're in a relationship like that, it's hard to see the bad in a person or to see the manipulations or whatever.
Yeah. And then afterward, it was actually after we ended that relationship is when I found I picked up the Satanic Bible for the first time. And there's a whole section of the psychic vampires thing.
Oh, yeah.
And that's exactly what it was. It was just leeching off of me, telling me the things I want to hear, giving me the things that I want, and in return, just completely using me and gaslighting me and shit. It was real fucked up.
I feel like half of all Satanists found the Satanic Bible the week of a breakup. Yeah. But they're, part of the not forgiving, not forgetting is, the Satanic Bible. Like, somebody slaps you across the face, you burn down their house. Kind of the vengeance vibe, which it's dangerous in a sense, but I also tend to feel, at least feel that way. And I think it doesn't
have to be literal either.
Right. And I definitely have had relationships that involved abuse, but I think it's really tricky and hard as a guy to, I'm definitely not taking away from anyone else being able to speak about it. I just feel like it's kind of hard as a guy to speak about that unless it is like ultra physical. Like if it's mostly or completely non-physical, just like abusive dynamics or whatever, or like verbal, it's really hard to speak about. I don't know. And I can't imagine It just sounds like it would be so hard from any. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I can't say it. It only got physical really once. I was driving and she was like, dude, this is actually yeah.
I've had that.
This is actually a really funny fucking story. In hindsight, so we so
it's like we're getting canceled.
No, it's really funny. We go to Walmart, and the entire reason we were at Walmart was to pick up a case of beer for the weekend.
Sure.
And we get there, and she doesn't have her ID, and we had issues there where, like, because, you know, if both people didn't have their ID, they wouldn't sell it or whatever, because there's a huge underage drinking problem down there. So she left and she went out the garden to the garden area, and she said she'd meet me there, and I would go out and like, walk around the front with the beer. So I did, and I get to the garden section and I don't see her anywhere. She's not near the door or anything. And I parked around the back of the building or on the side. So I walk over to the side because I didn't see her, and I thought, well, maybe she just walked out to the car. She wasn't there either. So I pulled back around to the front. Still don't see her anywhere. I go down to the end and I turn around so I can pull up to the curb, and at least I know like she's in that area. So I turn around so she can get in on the passenger side.
Mm-hmm.
We get in the car, and or she gets in the car, and she was like saying shit like, I can't even believe you went all the way around there. I told you I was going to be there. I was like, you weren't there. So I just got the car and I came back for you. It's not, in my head, I'm like, it's not a big deal. It's just, but she kept saying like, you just don't have any common sense. You just don't think about shit.
Oh,
and it's like, and every time that I would try to just like explain, like in a sentence, like, hey, I did this because it made sense for these reasons, she would keep saying shit like, well, you don't think about shit. You just, whatever. You don't have common sense. I don't know how you get away with, doing shit like this, or like a bunch of like really weird shit that she was saying. And eventually I'm just like, shut the fuck up. Like, let me tell you. And she was like, oh no, you can't talk to me that way. And she started clawing at my face and like gripping the wheel. And it's like, yo, like you can't fucking. So I pulled over to the side and she got out and like ran out of the car into someone's like backyard.
That's terrible.
And what I should have done then is just gone home with my beer.
Yes.
But instead what I did was drove up to her house, which was like a couple, not even a block away. It was just, around the corner. And I get out of the car and I walk down and I find her, and she's like not speaking to me. And I went up there and I waited, and she got there, and I put the beer in her fridge and I said, I'm going to go home now. And then I waited for her to get home and made sure she was like back inside of her house or whatever. And then I left.
Safe.
Yeah. And it was like within like a couple weeks after that I had to call it like, this ain't fucking happening.
Yeah.
But it wasn't until then that I could even see all the shit. And it wasn't even until like, weeks and months later that I'm actually putting together in my head like, oh wow, this was all like serious manipulation shit.
So bad. I am not going to speak in detail, but I've had to defend myself twice. And both of those times were in a moving vehicle. And it's like, you literally would have killed us. Like, and it sucks because the power dynamic is so shifted in the man's favor that it's really hard to like to know how to handle those kind of situations. But it goes back to like communication and setting boundaries with those things. And I also like you said, it might have taken you a little time, but it's like once you know that you want nothing to do with that kind of relationship, like you have to just like stay far fucking away from it.
Right.
it's so toxic. It's so draining. Yeah, that shit fucking sucks.
Yeah. And I didn't hit her.
Yeah, we have to cut all that.
I don't think so.
I don't know. I think we might.
I don't think so at all.
Oh,
You can if you want to, but
I don't want to, but I feel like we might have to.
no, man, it's real shit that happened to us, and it's not. We're not saying like, oh, I go out on Friday so I can find me a woman to hit by Sunday,
It sucks though, because there's dudes like that. That like,
Yeah,
So
they're absolute monsters and they're garbage.
So like on some, all right, if we're gonna do it, let's do it. So if on some real shit, like there's so many dudes that do shit like that or like fucked up shit in the name of love, right? So like if you're not that way or you do genuinely love someone, like when shit gets like that fucked up, like it's really fucking hard to defend yourself when the power dynamic is in your favor. Like it gets sketchy. Like even talking about it, my instant reaction is like, shut it down. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. But like if you have a chick punch you in the face and grab the wheel while you're driving, like if you don't physically do something, you're gonna go off the side of the highway.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
You could die. Yeah, as far as I'm concerned, that's attempted murder.
But if you get pulled over during that, it's probably you going to jail. I mean,
yeah.
Sometimes you'll get somebody who can be impartial or like try to suss it out or to put it on both parties, but a lot of times you're just fucked.
Yeah,
like that's scary.
Yeah. Yeah, there's a bunch of like not loopholes. There's like not a lot of clean ends in like domestic abuse.
There's not, and I'll preface it with most of the time it should be in the woman's favor. Those domestic abuse, family court type shit, most of the time it should be in the woman's favor. But when it's not, there's a major bias by the courts to still side on the woman's side. So it gets really fucking sketchy. Like,
yeah.
If you really were, it's tricky to say like good, but it's just fucking hard. I was gonna try to loop this back into something.
I'll do this here because you're probably gonna be cutting out some of these breaks. I believe in equality. I don't care who you are and what gender you are. I got hands for you no matter what.
That's how Hillary Clinton said your public opinion and your private opinion.
Did you say that?
Yeah, she would like publicly endorse things that privately she wouldn't, right? Like you have your political platform that you're trying to get elected for, right? Yeah. And even if you don't believe in it, that's what you say you're going to enact, right?
Yeah.
But you might have your own private beliefs, and I think doesn't matter who the fuck they are. If they're a threat, there is a responsibility of power.
Yeah.
Like if you're a world-class jiu-jitsu fighter or MMA dude or whatever.
Yeah. I mean, obviously, if they seem like they're, if it's a weaker person or a smaller person, if I can like hold them or have them like, what's the word I'm looking for? Is
restrained.
Like, restrained. Yeah. Something like, so they're not fucking hitting me. That's much better.
That's what I was trying to go for. Yeah. So like, I know for me, like those intense relationships are something I'm far less interested, that it has changed with age. But I do think there's a lot of people that like, they want that chaos. Like it fills the void of all this other shit. And they feel like Eminem in one of his songs, like they want to love someone enough to hurt them or themselves.
Now, do you think, not to sound like some Freud shit here, but do you think that has something to do with like their upbringing and like their own, like I feel like, do you see some of that with like people that had like shitty home relationships.
Shitty home relationships is like the biggest indicator of every crime statistic ever. It's unfortunately, I think you just can't deny that's a factor. Like we mirror the behavior we see as children. But I think even more than that alone, I think as a general thing, I like walking down your hallway with all the people. I think for most people, the idea is to find purpose in walking down that hallway with someone. Like that, the journey with someone, having someone to love is a purpose to fill ourselves with.
Right.
I don't think I think most of the time that's probably not good, and I see how people lose themselves very easily, as I've lost myself in that.
Yeah, I think there's a fine line between finding someone to spend the time with because you can't go lonely. That's not right either.
You can. It's just so.
It's also unhealthy.
Yeah.
But finding like the one, like a romantic relationship other person that you want to be there. Yeah. Creating a codependency thing is hard.
Well, I think of codependency with the connotation that is almost always negative.
Yeah.
I think having someone you love to go on the journey with you is extremely valuable, though.
Yeah, agreed. I think what I mean is like I guess it's a fine line between having someone that you can't live without versus having someone that you say that you can't live without.
Yes.
Or that you don't want to live without.
Right. Yeah, it's in the same way that it is a thin line between John Wick and John McAfee.
Yeah.
Now, do you think, do you believe people can be unlovable?
No.
Like that some people can't. It's kind of like some people aren't meant for this world thing. Like, do you think some people are meant to be alone or incapable of being loved?
No, if fucking Smiling Bob can find a woman he loves and she loves him too, then it's my boy Smiling Bob.
I always like the line, there's a lid for every pot.
Yeah.
No matter how fucking weird, how ugly, how stupid you are, there is someone out there. I really believe that. I do think there can be exceptions, but they're very few and far between.
Yeah. Yeah, agreed. We need to just be a social experiment. Get the hottest person on the planet and the ugliest person on the planet. And do the 90-day fiance thing with them.
They've done some really cool experiments on love with pheromones. Where like they have.
Sorry, I just realized the implications of what I said.
Yeah, it was pretty bad.
Imagine being picked as the ugliest person on the planet.
There's so many.
Out of everyone on the planet, we've determined that you are the ugliest person.
You have been voted. But they've done these studies where like you smell, and it's just like a handkerchief, right, that the person kept on their body all day.
Yeah.
And the chance that you can find love just purely based on the scent of their pheromones. There really is definitely something biological and non-intellectual, right? Like love is definitely not always with our brain.
Yeah, it's not about logic.
Yeah, it's one of the weird places. I think logical people struggle with that the most because it's something you have to like let go of a lot of like internal thought and go with the feels.
Yeah, it's you're putting when you're making yourself vulnerable you're putting trust into someone else. You're acting on faith.
Yeah.
It's
a dirty word.
It is.
Well, I don't know about you. I feel like I've been vulnerable enough. I'm ready to rebuild these walls.
Yep, what's building back up. And of course, obviously, it goes without saying, love is love regardless of your gender identity or norms or orientation. Be who you want to be, do what you want to love, or do what you love.
Fuck the rest. Do whatever the fuck you want, love whoever you want. Yeah. And break shit and fuck on the floor.
Goddamn right.
One of my buddies, his house parties, every time we'd make like a flyer for these stupid drug parties, all the flyers said break shit and fuck on the floor. And that stayed.
It's beautiful.
It's beautiful. I love the sentiment.
So thanks again for listening, everybody. Thank you to Approaching Human for the use of his music. You can find his work on SoundCloud at Approaching-Human.
Thanks, John. Finish the album.
Finish that shit.
Yes.
Make sure to check the show page at Trash Cats Trashcast on Instagram for news and arts from the show.
And Facebook for the memes.
Oh, yeah, Facebook for the memes.
Yep. If you're super bored, you can check out my trashy art on Instagram at SKYZICX. I just put something new up there that was pretty cool. And shouts out to no one else because we didn't do honorable mentions, but next week we will have them at the end of the episode. And
tune in next Wednesday for our episode on
something very entertaining and brilliant and beautiful.
The greatest podcast that ever was.
The best.
That's going to be all for us today. Stay classy, eat trashy.
Go fast, eat trash. That was fun.
That was fun. That was a good episode. That felt good.
Yeah, I think we can figure something out with the end. I do think we're gonna have to cut something.
Yeah, I figured that's gonna be. I trust your judgment.
We'll navigate. I think we just have to tell the stories, not the story, the actual story, but our narrative there very carefully.
Yeah,
because I think even though I believe we're fully in the right to equality in self-defense in that sense, I feel like that alone is enough right now with how things are. I don't necessarily think with our current listeners, because it's only like 14 people.
Yeah. But if it ever picked up and
yeah,
I mean, it's not like we said like we happily beat our partners.
I think like a bigger podcaster, right? They have a level of protection with their audience. But I think when you're smaller, I think even like joking that it shouldn't be that way, I think can be enough. I don't know. It will depend on how it sounds, because it might not sound bad, but I could very easily see someone not knowing us hearing just either of our stories being like, this isn't cool.
That's fair.
Yeah. I don't want it to be that way, though, because I don't want to.
No, I trust your judgment, whatever you cut out or leave in, or
We'll see, because I think it's all valid stuff. Like I
Yeah.
do feel strong that way, and I don't want to devalue our experience at all. But I also see value in protecting ourselves.
Right.
So I don't know. I'll run it by you either way.
All right.
How about that?
You ready to hit stop?
Yeah.